Well, I mean, there's not much better of a time to start
Fade in
when the music is ending.
Then the music fades out.
Yes, it does fade out.
And then we fade in.
Then we fade in.
Oh, look at all live.
Magic.
Oh,
Magic.
Interesting. And we're live. Finally, it's fucking accurate to say. Been saying that for too long.
For a long time, it was quite inaccurate.
Yeah, well.
But we're here doing the thing.
And any technical problems we have, someone let us know, because we're definitely using this as our practice live round.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm actually doing it, so.
But it's kind of neat. It's got a bunch of weird little
new things to figure out.
Yeah, that end up being kind of cool. Yeah,
they are cool. So, but if something explodes and we burn down in flames, I mean,
is that a current problem with live? You go live and then you burst into flame?
I hope
it's
not.
It's just dangerous.
I hope that's
living is inherently dangerous. Mm-hmm. So
Yep.
It might have a counterpoint in like life.
Right. But we're here. This is podcast number 18.
18. We're getting a little bit rocky. We need to start scheduling this a little bit better.
Yes, I agree. We've been doing it on average now like once every week and a half.
Our average is slipping. We're going to have to start cranking them out.
Rather than every week. But hey, we're still functioning and things are changing. And
yeah, my podcast 100, I promise this will be actually like really good.
Yeah.
Really good and consistent. And
right. Yeah. It'll be super duper. Yeah. Super duper.
So, stuff and things.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, that's a very broad question.
Do you want to start heavy? Do you want to start light?
I would prefer to start light. What's happening? What's light in the world?
There's been a bunch of patents discovered under. Give me just a second and I'll bring it. Well, for one, Wayfair's back at it.
Oh, so we're back in the Wayfair machine.
Wayfair's got some stuff going on with one-of-a-kind, knotted traditional area rugs. The difference being some of these one-of-a-kind ones with names like Talisha and Eli go for $18,000 or $14,000, opposed to the normal ones, which go for like, I don't know, a couple hundred.
Okay.
So that's just like something I stumbled across, but I was like, oh, hey, Wayfair's doing the thing again.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've heard that name. It just kind of disappeared.
Weird how that happened.
Yeah, where it was like, oh, look at all this Wayfair stuff and all like this crazy shit.
Super damning evidence and a lot of things pointing at some weirdness happening. And then I was like, nah, it's a right-wing conspiracy theory.
Right.
It's like, well, it might be a child trafficking conspiracy. I don't know if it's right wing, but it went away because it was labeled as right wing.
Yeah.
But more interestingly, there's a person, let me read his name, Salvatore Cesar Pais. Pais? P-A-I-S.
Okay.
And the assignee for the patents always go to the United States of America, as represented by the Secretary of the Navy. And the one I'm looking at right now is a high-frequency gravitational wave generator, which, is kind of interesting. It's like, that sounds very sci-fi. I wonder what that's about. But at the same time, that patent was put forward. The electromagnetic field generator and the inertial mass reduction device were all put in patents under the exact same filings.
Okay.
So one person is coming up with a lot of very, very sci-fi-y patents, all sponsored by the Navy.
Right. So basically what you're telling me is that there's actual evidence now.
Oh yeah, I was just looking at the legal patents for it. They're trying to make it so that they can get their money for it and that no one else can do these things. But they're all the same things that would go into the traditional UFO. They just happen to be patented by the U.S. Navy.
Okay.
And now they're under the spotlight.
So now there's actual documents that be like, hey, we have the technology to rebuild alien spacecrafts. And there it is. Right there. Maybe it's a stretch.
I think there's some weird stuff as more and more things come up, because they just recently estimated, or they changed the estimates of number of Earth-like planets, it jumped up to 5 million in just the Milky Way. So they went from being like, oh yeah, we've not been able to find like really great candidates in the habitable zone.
Yeah.
Decades and decades they've been saying this. And now the scientific mainstream estimates are there's 5 million in our galaxy alone.
Wait, 5 million habitable planets?
Earth-like planets.
Earth-like planets.
I don't know the exact margins. I don't think Earth-like necessarily states that it's habitable in this moment, but it's within certain margins that it could be made habitable with certain things. I don't think Mars counts as an Earth-like planet, so I don't think we have any Earth-like planets in our thing, so that kind of gives you an idea of like how close
Earth.
Yeah.
So it would have to be closer to
habitable
what we have
than Mars.
Than Mars is.
Yes.
Okay. So, like, maybe something with some form of atmosphere.
Yeah.
For sure, and then water. Like, atmosphere and water, for sure.
Yeah, and there was some really weird shit that came out about Venus in our solar system, you know, that they found markers. I forget what it's fucking called. I wish I was better at remembering, like, all of these scientific things. But there's something in the atmosphere that's indicative of life having been on Venus at some point in like a measurable future or past. Like there are markers that see, if I try digging for it now, it's going to take me forever.
Just take too much of a space.
You can Google Venus and the life on Venus, and it'll pop up if you do the search engine within like the last week.
Right, like Venus breaking news. This is happening.
It's one of those
Venus.
things.
Okay, yeah. So there's a possibility that there was shit going on there a long time ago.
Yeah, and I think it's just rather interesting that all of these things are rolling out right around now.
Right. Yeah, that is interesting. That's interesting for sure, because now is like a... Well, man, I keep seeing memes. Like
the aliens are coming next month. Like, we're so nervous. Oh, no.
Like, we're up next for 2020. It's the aliens.
I don't know which button is both of us anymore.
So, right now, it is 6 is you.
6 is me.
7 is me.
Okay.
8 is both of us.
Oh, you changed the numbers.
Yes.
So I was
just to make it more streamlined.
All right.
Streamity-linedy.
But yeah, the aliens are coming next.
Yeah. Well,
and they're gonna. I know they're going to try to push it as like, so COVID didn't work to make us all like separate and like hide in our little houses as they do whatever they want.
Yeah.
The political protests aren't seemingly are making that happen either.
Yeah.
So now they're like pulling out more and more stops, being like, what do we need to? Okay, you know what we need to do? We need to blow something up by an alien. That'll make people hide.
An alien spacecraft come and just like blow some shit up, and then everyone will freak out and think that, I don't know, we need a tyrannical government to come in and save us and fight a fake alien war.
How else would we respond? Like if aliens showed up
and just started blowing shit up?
It would just, well, if we interpreted it in that way, like what other possible course of action do you see happening? I mean, people are so readily accepting of whatever they're being told by like the official sources. So if every news station's said like, oh, this is an alien attack, all of our sources indicate it's a hostile invasion and we're going to be at war, it's like, who's gonna say that's not true?
Right.
Who's gonna really believe and be like, that actually seems like an alien reproduction vehicle? That doesn't look like an alien. That seems like something we would do to ourselves in order to instigate a war. You know, like how we did for like
every war ever. Nearly.
Nearly. Yeah. Look, well, it's not necessarily just like one country does it, but every country always does it in order to create war.
Right.
There hasn't been a justifiable war in our existence, in our recorded history.
Yeah. There's always some weird.
There's always some weird little moment where it's like someone pulled this like trigger.
Yeah.
And like something happened, and then a cascade of like pre-planned events occurred, and then it launched everything. Mm-hmm.
It's like there's always some fuckery going on in the background.
It goes to that story about the Russian guy who was monitoring the nuclear warheads, and he got like this. It's a really good story. Mm-hmm. So the Russian guy monitoring the nuclear warheads for the USSR during the Cold War, they had a bunch of readings from their base of operations saying that a bunch of nukes were coming in.
Okay.
And instead of him like flipping the switch, pushing the button, he was like, "This doesn't feel right. Yeah. There's something wrong here." And lo and behold, like 15 minutes later or whatever, they're told like, "Oh, all of our wiring was crossed. It was actually just an electrical malfunction. We're so glad you didn't launch all of our nukes at the U.S.
Oh, God.
And what I'm speaking to is like this human negation. Like war isn't natural to us unless it's like, you know, I punch you, you punch me, and then we're like, good punch. Like war is unnatural. That's why killing another human being is such a traumatic experience. It rocks you to your very core.
Yeah.
Like it's not supposed to happen. So we have this like weird built-in mechanism that stops us from doing it.
Yeah.
So something else pulling the trigger is always how these things occur.
Right.
My opinion.
It's like
studying history.
It's like there has to be some kind of like momentum push behind people to make the war happen. To be like, this is like a threat to like your very individual life and people that like you know might get harmed, or this is like so, like there's or it's some like an honorable or patriotic thing to do. There's always some momentum behind it to make it seem legitimate or to happen. And to be fair, like I think there are moments where things like that are legitimate because the world is crazy and things devolve into evil, chaotic things. And I mean, sometimes it is legitimate, but I feel like a very vast majority of the time war is it's a very political, hidden, like who really knows what the motives behind these things are. At least that's what it's been, at least in our lifetime and in the past century. Like,
yeah, because I mean, war is fundamentally a money-making machine.
Right.
Bankers, and this isn't like some weird conspiracy. Bankers fund both sides of wars in order to make maximized profits on it.
Right. I mean, that happened in World War II.
It happened in World War I too. It happens in every fucking war.
I mean, what was it like? Something like was it like Mercedes or something was developing like off-road vehicles for like both sides of the war and selling it to both sides? Like, like what the fuck is that?
Before that,
like, how can you live in a country that's fighting another one and being like, well, we're gonna sell them shit?
Get this one.
Like, what the hell?
When Napoleon was defeated, the Rothschild family knew before anyone else, and they switched their money holdings so that once the news actually hit France, they owned France. They made was that like 1918 that war was? I always get them. I get the Napoleonic shit fucked up, but I know for a fact that the Rothschilds knew of Napoleon's defeat before France's political system. So before they were able to do anything, the Rothschilds invested in, I forget exactly what it was, but they made most of their fortune through that thing, and then they were able to buy their standings in Great Britain, Germany, and all these other major.
That's insanity. That's
man,
insanity.
It's history. This shit isn't even hidden. It's just right there. You just have to read through some weird textbooks and boring shit.
Yeah, and that's it. And how do you, like, how do you justify doing something like that? Like, I mean, you have to.
If you're like George Soros, it's like you have two split, like, moral personalities. One gives zero fucks about anything but money and power and prestige, and the other one's like, oh yeah, I'm human.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Otherwise, I have a tongue that like a lizard.
And we're back to the lizard people. Lizard people, we're on to you.
We're very on to you. Yeah, no, that I haven't even really thought about that, because even the the more recent wars, like when you're talking about like Iraq and Iran, like you have this whole controversy of like Obama was okaying before ISIS became a thing. Like Obama had approved and had said, yeah, we're going to send a bunch of weapons to the area where ISIS was created, and sold it to the people who became ISIS. And so we're like we funded like the war of the people that we actually just fought against.
Oh yeah.
So it was like, well, you guys need resources and you need weapons, but we're gonna be able to start a war with this. Here we go. Like, take it all. Fucking missile launchers, fucking,
and that is definitely
assault rifles. Take it all.
Not the first time by far that our country has done that for us to ourselves. Right. It's like, you know what we need? We need a good old-fashioned war. Who seems unstable? Oh, wait. We got a democratic, socially elected person going in. We should instigate a war in that country, feed a bunch of weapons to the rebels, and then we should have a war for America and American values. Stop the communists.
Right? It would be somewhat like, well, okay, that's exactly like what's going on now with the current riots. Like literally exactly. Like the Democratic Party and a lot of people who are saying like Biden's campaign, people have been donating to these giant funds that are pulling people out of prisons, like getting them, like if they get arrested for starting a fire to burn a building down.
Oh, I did see some
like
of
they're
that,
paying
yeah.
for people's bails, like people in our government, paying for the freaking like U-Haul trucks full of shields and like all of that, like people like within our government. So it's like they're literally funding like in like the actual destruction of the place that they live, like people coming from our government, and then either telling the police to stand down or not to stand out. Like the level of absolute manipulation that's happening in this situation is probably beyond anything that anybody can even understand at this point.
It's kind of like, hysterical in a way, because when you're looking at it and it's your first time like observing any manipulation, you're like, nah.
Yeah.
But if you've been looking at it or for it for the last like decade or so, it's like, holy shit. Like, you guys didn't notice all this stuff happening? Like, I'm not allowed to say certain things or I can lose my job. Not even like bad things, just like socially dissonant things.
Yeah.
Not like calls to violence, not like any like racial negativity or anything, just that I don't believe in what other people believe can get someone removed from a position that they have rightfully earned based on skill and merit.
Right.
Like, it's absolutely mind-boggling.
And that's the crazy thing about like I mean, I've had that happen to me. Like, I think you somewhat know the story. Like, I was having an argument where, I mean, I got heated and I was like,
you've expressed your regret for how it happened, but you weren't like wrong in expressing.
And I didn't say anything that was bad or like violent or anything.
If you were calling people to violence or you were saying racial stuff, I would have punched you in the face.
The worst thing that I said is white supremacy does not, or white privilege does not exist,
which is a controversial view.
Those
and it's
the
a very
words that I said.
It's a very, very nuanced thing, but if you say it like flat out, people get super, super, super angry. I think that's a really good discussion point, and I don't think that's something that anybody needs to get mad about. If you're getting mad about it, you might be wrapped up in an ideology of like,
correct,
this needs to be true in order for everything else to be okay. And it's like, because I feel like this is a really important point to get across from our perspective, because it's not like we don't, everything we agree or disagree with is like on a scale. Like, if I'm saying the only thing that I can really say for certain is fuck pedophiles. You suck. You guys suck.
Yes.
Bad news bears. And I'm also like pretty close to saying like, reptiles, man. Reptiles, we gotta watch them because they creep me out. But everything else, all of the other opinions we hold, it's not like a damning thing. If you want to say we're wrong or throw examples at us or like try to have a discussion, as I always hope it's going to be a discussion over an argument, we're willing. We're not against that. I think it's important to do that in all things. Yeah,
for sure. In the same like in the same sense, I guess, like when I came out and says like white privilege does not exist, but that was after like probably like hours of sitting there having full length conversations with people trying to
context as well.
Trying to get my point across, where it's like, hey, I understand the sentiment and that there's things in your argument that are legit, but, and then they just kept coming back with like, you're a fucking racist idiot, blah 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 blah, and then I'm just like, I give up. Like white privilege does not exist.
I tried having a similar kind of conversation. Where I was just stating like both Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and QAnon all share a lot of traits of cults.
Yes.
And I got people were mad at me. And I was like, I'm not saying any one of these is bad or good. They're all just kind of culty. Like anything that makes you stop thinking critically and get punished for thinking outside of a certain narrative, it's kind of culty. And it's
a little bit more than kind of culty. It's really culty.
I think a lot of things have elements of cult. Anything that stops you from having forming your own opinion and questioning everything, because you should always be questioning everything.
Yeah,
everything all the time.
And you know what's really culty is like multi-level marketing.
Yeah, which we know about because we did 2 of them.
2 of them.
We got tricked twice.
Yeah.
Like if anybody understands the process of being like indoctrinated into something that's just like, it sounds really good. You people are really convincing. I like what you're saying. And then you're in it and you're like, God damn it.
The hard part is that there's a lot of really good value in them. Yeah. Where there's like mindset and a lot of stuff that they talk about.
Right? Like the grind, like the setting schedule. It's a lot of...
There's a lot of good mindset.
Good elements, yeah.
Right, like positive thinking and like the idea of like that you can create something more with your life if you like do these things.
Right.
For sure. Like all of those ideas are fantastic. But I'm sorry, but as soon as you start getting to a point where you're trying to make money off of like your friends
your
and
contacts.
Stuff and your contacts, like that becomes a massive issue.
I'm shanty hippie hippie, but I think your gut always knows. Like they try to, in multi-level marketing, your trainers or whatever they call themselves, they say you have to like fight through the discomfort, but when you're like typing something to like your aunt or your like second cousin and you've just got this like, oh, this feels bad in my gut, I don't think this is good, and you do it anyways, and then they're like really weirded out and they're like, I don't like this, and you try to do the sale and all this stuff, you feel bad the whole time, and there's a fucking reason, because it's weird and it's manipulative, and I think if you do it long enough you stop getting that feeling.
Yeah, and you just like think that it's normal and it's fine. Then all of a sudden your only friends are the people who are in the multi-level marketing group.
Right. They're in the cult group.
Right. So it like, to me, I understand if it's like, hey, I have this product that I'm trying to sell to you that I believe in, and you're trying to just like sell them a product that you think is legit.
Which I've met quite a number of multi-level marketing people who just do that, and they don't sound skeezy or weird. Like it's a very, very specific type of person that can do it in a way that's not skeezy, where they're just like, whatever, I just do it as a side hustle, and it's like, oh, okay,
and that's fine. That's fine. But as soon as you get to the point where it's like, sign up and then you can start selling it, and then like I'll make money off of you, and then you can sign people up who will start selling it, and you'll make money off of them, and this, and it costs you this much to be like become a brand ambassador or whatever the fuck.
I wanted that BMW, guys. I really wanted that car. I wanted to be like, oh, look at me, I'm successful. Look at my material wealth.
Right. But yeah, man, it's a cult. It's culty. It's culty because it pulls you into a mindset of like, well, like a lot of the things that we were told in the multi-level marketing stuff is like, this is the only way. This is the only way that
unless you want to work 40 hours a week for the rest of your life, this is how you get out of it. You got to start your own business, and you got to be cutthroat. You got to be responsible and take things into your own hands.
And it's like, yes, all of those things are true, but I don't have to do it only through you. Get the fuck out of here.
The last time I did a multi-level marketing thing, I was really trying to commit. I drove out to Chicago with our trainers, and I went to like one of those big venue things where they had like a whole stadium rented out, and they were like, it's boot camp, and I was like, I'm gonna do this, and I was there, and they started the show, and there was like lights, and there was like music, and there was like fireworks, and then they were like, come up here, let's do push-ups, and I was like, I'm out. I'm fucking out. Nope. You had me at the weird lady doing push-ups on a goddamn thing with everybody going.
Right.
It's like, oh God, I'm in a cult.
So you just have that moment. But Angie just said, I have a friend who sells Monat hair products on the side because she loves the product so much.
And that's totally fucking legit.
Right, and that's fine. That's legit. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, as long as they love the product and they're doing it because of the product and not for their own.
And then if someone comes to you and is like, hey, how do I sell this stuff? Because I believe in it.
That's so much healthier.
There you go. That's fine. But as soon as you're in there and you're starting to be manipulative and you're like, oh, hey, meet me up at Starbucks. I have something cool to show you.
We were doing.
I have something cool to show you.
We did this. We are the monsters we are referring to.
Right? And then they're like, well, what is it? What are you going to show me?
I just got to show you in person.
Like, I have to show you in person.
And they walk in and you're like, let me buy you a coffee.
Right? Let me buy you a coffee. Oh, here's my mentor, this person you've never met before.
This random person hiding in the wings who's super sly and kind of sketch. They're going to make you want to give me $400.
So you can sell this thing that you just heard of 5 minutes ago.
Not convinced? Let me play you a 15-minute clip that you don't really want to watch.
Yeah, no, dude, like, it's so shady.
Oh, but it can also be really good. It's that sliding scale again. Yeah. It's like it depends on how you're using it.
Right. Yeah. No. It's a total like. I don't know. It's weird. Like after being in it, like I have so many like guilt feels from doing it.
I want to go around and apologize to folks.
Like, I'm sorry that I fell on that. I'm sorry because like I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought that I was helping people.
Isn't that always it though? Mm-hmm. We always do these impassioned things because we're like, hey, I think it's gonna be great for me and good for other people. And if that's the case, I have to spread it at any means possible. It's the religious zealotry of like, look, I'm coming to you and saving your soul. Mm-hmm. Well, by killing you and burning your culture.
Right. Well, I mean,
that's exactly what's happening in politics right now.
That's exactly what's happening with the riots.
Like
and all
we're gonna save America by burning it down and removing all of the things that keep us in a system that continues to move.
Right.
Whether it's moving in the right direction or not, at least it's moving.
Yeah, like I tell you, like people, the people who are out rioting and stuff right now, like they're in that same zone that you are when you're in a multi-level marketing thing.
Like I'm doing it for all the right reasons. I'm trying to save the world.
Right. I'm trying to like help. I'm trying to do this thing. You just don't understand. I see this bigger picture. Oh my God! Like you're not seeing the things that I see. It's like no, like dude,
the things you see are because you are looking for them
specifically.
You've got a core belief that you refuse to acknowledge could be anything else other than like just your belief.
Right. And it also doesn't help that there's other people who are much smarter than you who have tried to convince you of these things with
these things were this like social unrest and the way it's happening has been predicted by quite a few very, very well, at this juncture, they're almost like notorious kind of professors and scientists and all sorts of people. They all have like a bad name surrounding them because for the last 10 years they've been like, why are schools allowing this to prosper? Like this isn't even a real science. Like these things have no data. These things are all nuanced and stating it in a cut and dry way is going to kill people. And lo and behold, people are dying.
Yeah, like are you talking about like the 1619 project and all of like the critical race theory and all of that stuff?
I mean, like yes, I was putting it in a very vague kind of like box over here and just being like everything I'm talking about is something over there. Yeah. Because the more I get specific on it, the more nuanced it gets, and then I have to know a lot more before I can actually speak about it with any.
Right, but in the same way, here's the thing about the like when you're talking about things like the Black Lives Matter movement, let's say, it's very based in critical race theory. It's based in like the 1619 project and theory and all that stuff that's been being taught in colleges that is hyper flawed in the same way that multi-level marketing is flawed and people who get caught up in are. But the thing is, in multi-level marketing, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that's good and right and makes sense.
Just like in critical race theory, there's a whole bunch of stuff in there that's right, that's true, that's verifiable and makes sense. But to extrapolate to where we're at now is kind of like being one of those multi-level marketing people that's just like, I am going to get 10 people to sign up. If I have to hold a knife up to their throat, I'm going to get those people to sign up because they don't know what's good for them.
I'm going to guilt them so damn hard.
Oh, man. I'm going to make them get money from their dying grandma. That's how important this product is.
That's one of the things that they tell you when they're training you how to recruit people is like, well, do you have any family members that can help you? Because it's really important that you get into this right now.
And that you start running with it and get the ball rolling.
It's like It's like, man,
just thinking about the multi-level marketing stuff.
I know.
Our days in it were very, very gross.
I know, it makes me feel sticky.
But other people are doing it better than we did it.
Yeah.
So, you know.
For sure. And that's the same thing though, like with the riots and the BLM stuff, and like I would like to be able to break down more in specific like what I feel and what I like talking about that stuff, because there's a lot of things that I feel like on both sides are being misrepresented, but the moral of the story here is that there are people literally burning down cities and beating people in the streets and shooting people, and like all of this shit is happening over an idea, right? Like over an idea, and it's something that hasn't been fully quantified by science or the mainstream in any way. It's just kind of this baseline belief system that has been kind of brewing in like social science college courses for probably a decade now. And now it's coming to the point where all of those ideas are becoming activated, and like you just kind of hit this singularity point where it's like, all right, now but the thing is, I still believe that there's only a small minority of people who really understand the ideology and are pushing it, versus people who are just like backing it without the understanding or the knowledge of where the idea is coming from, right? Like a vast majority of the people out there protesting and rioting are probably just like, hey, racism sucks, like it's not good that
injustice is happening,
people die, boom, this is bad, that's why we're out here protesting. And
because people who think like
hopefully
that,
not rioting.
Yeah,
right?
people like that you're describing are protesting. They're doing things for the right mindset. The people who are like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make this happen are generally going to fall into the rioter category. That line's been crossed. That fucking line where it's like, it's a call to violence. It's a call to like action against certain people. It doesn't matter if the action is against like police who are like there.
Yeah, but a lot of the times it's not. Like a majority of the people who have died have just been random civilians trying to stop people from destroying their lives. So
so I kind of wanted to touch on the Breonna Taylor stuff, because there was this weird disconnect between you and I where you were going over the information that had like come out in the police report, and I was over here being like, well, Breonna Taylor was shot in her bed, and it was like, oh, wait, no, the information came out that Breonna Taylor was not in her bed. She was next to her boyfriend, who was opening fire on cops who had a no-knock warrant, but reportedly knocked anyways and then broke through the door. And I mean, like, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying the discrepancy in the story from the version that came out originally, that everybody believes that Breonna Taylor was peacefully sleeping in her, that she was peacefully sleeping in her bed, and it was just her, and that her boyfriend was just like into some bad stuff, but cops had a no-knock warrant, so they battered in the door and they shot her because she was black.
Yeah, just
that was the story. Yeah. Everyone understood that was the story, and that's why it was like, the Breonna Taylor shit is absolutely horrible. I can't believe that would ever happen. Well, it didn't happen like that.
Right, because now that the actual like evidence came out and a non-politically biased like grand jury decided that these cops were like innocent.
Well, one was removed because he was haphazardly shooting. Like, yes, but that's like a different thing entirely. That's just a cop. That's a cop having not enough training and not being a quality enough candidate.
Right. But the main thing is like even while we were talking about all this BLM stuff, like in the past, I had always said, well, I mean, like the Breonna Taylor thing, like for sure, that's fucked up. Like that's not right. Like that proves that there's some bad stuff happening in like in these zones. But now that it like the actual evidence came out and the story came out, it's like, well, of course it's the same story as every other fucking case. Like something bad happens, somebody dies, somebody who is a police officer who is white kills a person who is black, and all of the people on the outrage side don't wait for the information. They don't want to they don't want to wait to see the story. They just say, hey, here's a situation that can benefit my cause. I'm just going to take it and run with it, and omit information that's there to spin the narrative that supports their side of the argument, and it just runs off. And now there's a whole swath of people that even they can go and read the report. They can say that this is it, and in their head they're like, "Oh, it's bullshit. They must have made that up or something."
Yeah, it must have been doctored by the police or something like that. And it's it's a lot. It's a lot that there's been this divide that's formed, because it used to be you could point out when something was being misconstrued, and either side would be like, oh, I see what happened. Yeah, no, this was omitted, so it sounded worse or better or whatever. But now it's if new information comes out that's hopefully true, I mean, I would assume that a grand jury of non-politically charged people would be the best source for this, opposed to the mainstream news on either side. You would hope that this is the truth, that they deliberated on facts for a very long time until they were able to determine this is what actually happened. But in every case that has that's sticking out in my mind, the Breonna Taylor, it was falsified. It was a different story. Not that it was any not that it was perfect or it assuages all guilt or anything, but it's a very different story. It's way more nuanced. And then the George Floyd, now that the stories come out, dude was having a fucking overdose heart attack. He was saying he couldn't breathe for minutes before the cops ever put their knee on him, but the whole story was that he was being killed by the cops. And then the Jacob Blake stuff is we've gone over that. Man, it's the exact same pattern every single time. We were pointing at the Jacob Blake thing and being that's fucked up. That's really wrong. And then we got more information. We were like, oh, how else could you have really responded if someone's got a knife, if they've got all these charges, if they've already sexually assaulted a minor, if they're going into the car and there's children in there. There are so many nuanced factors to these things that are omitted, and it has to be looked at as why else would they omit them? It has to be deliberate.
Right, but the thing is, though, they don't even think that they're doing that. The people who are very, very heavily behind this movement that is burning shit down.
Yeah, I hate equating it to just Black Lives Matter, because there's so much good stuff coming out of Black Lives Matter too. So much proper attention and shit.
Yeah, for sure.
But I like how you phrased it, the group that's burning shit, because it's a very small sect of different groups that have come together that are all gnarly.
And the people who are instigating people to burn shit.
Yeah.
So, which is higher level in the organization that is very conspiracy noodles, hardcore in there. But the like you said, there is a lot of good stuff coming from that, but people higher up in the organization, they believe, though, that the entire system that we've been living in is fundamentally flawed to its very core. That the only way that anything in our country exists is because of power and greed, and it's all coming from systemic white privilege and racism and all this stuff, and the entire system is built upon that foundation, and that's all there is. And so if you see somebody going in court in a grand jury, non-politically biased, whatever, their argument is, well, no, I mean, just the court itself is racist. Every single person in there, if they're white, they're they
have an inherent racism they can't control, which changes everything.
Right, exactly. So nothing within the system is legit. Absolutely nothing. That's why they're saying we need to burn the entire system to the ground, which is I don't think these people understand the implication of what that means.
I think some very select people understand the implications,
maybe.
But the vast majority...
It's that means apocalypse, friends. That means apocalypse, friends. Because our entire system feeds, houses, gives transportation and medical care, and there's food supply chains, and there's
think what would happen if they really did get what they wanted and they shut down everything. There'd be a mass die-off of millions
and millions of people, because from all walks of life.
How many people would be able to be oh, the food, what happened during like the COVID stuff at the very beginning. It was like food supplies were interrupted, things started happening, people were only allowed to get so much food. What if that was like cut off and it was like, it's not coming back? Like,
right. If
we'd all die.
You start burning the system to the ground, man. Like the defund the police thing is only the beginning. Like as soon as they get that, like they're on to the next thing. Then it's like, okay, defund the police. All right, we're going to instate our version of the police that are going to have our ideology in mind.
And then it's like you got some new version of like SS troops or some shit like that roaming around, only opposite ideology.
Right, exactly.
And swinging back and forth.
And then from the police, then it's like, okay, next level of government, judges and the judicial system and all these things. Like defund all of that. Then it's defund this. Then it's defund this. Then it's defund this. Like they're literally trying to change the very core of like our entire society that has been functioning fairly well. We have, like, if you look at the information, we've pulled like a insane amount of people in the world out of poverty. Like we cut it in half in less than 5 years from like, what was it, like 2010 to 2015 or something. Like we cut the world's like poverty level in half and starvation, like through capitalism and through like innovation and helping, right? There's a lot of things that our system does that is very, very good and is keeping people alive and doing things. So if you're going to come in here and be like, oh, well, I'm a 22-year-old college kid who took a social science class and I think I know how to build the whole system from the ground up, and if you listen to me, everything is going to be utopia and perfect. It's like, really? You think that's what's going to happen?
I mean, there's lots of like adjustment that needs to be happen.
For sure. Adjustment within the system, using the system, and maybe there's parts of the system that we can say, okay, we can pull this out of here, we can do this here, we can do this here, but not just burn it all, it all to the ground and let it all go.
If I didn't know better, I would say that some nefarious group of super, super, super well-off individuals were concerned about their own standing and their own well-being if the masses got too disgruntled with the slave system, that they decided to create a solid scapegoat in society for polarizing parties so that the parties would look at each other, and instead of dealing with the real problem being like the corporations that make all the pollution and destroy our world and feed off of our constant effort and work, and the couple handfuls of people that own more than all of the rest of the people of the world put together. You know, if we don't look at them, it looks like we just got to fight each other. But if we all just looked up a little bit higher in the food chain, it might be like,
right,
maybe we should just start cutting off heads. The French Revolution was okay, right? I don't know. Maybe it had its ups, it had its down for a lot of people too.
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. It's like, hey, there's proof with it now. I mean, so before the Breonna Taylor verdict happened, obviously the people and the actors in Black Lives Matter organization, right, the actual organization itself, because Black Lives Matter, the saying, I'm behind. Yeah, I get it. Okay, cool. But as soon as you go into the organization and the funding process and the ideology and the mission statement and the goals,
and some of the people who are in the higher up positions are real sus.
Yeah, for sure. And then also like the connection that BLM has to Antifa, because Antifa is kind of like they're like the Hydra.
Yeah,
they're like the Hydra.
Antifa's kind of
right.
It's another creature entirely. I don't fully understand how people can get behind that ideology.
Is the people with Antifa's ideology? What happened is they came in and hijacked the Black Lives Matter movement, which started as like something legit, right? But the Antifa types, 1619 projectors, Marxism, communism, all of those ideas, like came in and then say, oh, here's a vulnerable population who like has had injustices happen. We're going to use their suffering and the things that are bad that are happening to them to try and push our ideology. So they infiltrate the ranks, they come in. Antifa themselves are very much so about like, stay hidden. We don't want people to really know who we are. Like our organization isn't really a thing. So they come in and they wear the BLM and they wear all of this when they're really just straight up Antifa people, like not there because of the Black Lives Matter movement. Like, they're just there utilizing the Black Lives Matter movement, trying to push a specific agenda. And there's proof of that now with somebody who literally directly worked with like the DNC, or like the Democrats had pulled up in a U-Haul after the Breonna Taylor thing, unloading placards and shields and stuff after the police who were involved in the Breonna Taylor incident. She like unloaded a U-Haul, and she's in the government. Like, that was a serious fuck up, because now there's a link. Because it's like, so they already planned that they were going to riot and burn shit down. It wasn't just going to be a peaceful protest. And now we can link her to organizations that have been funded by George Soros, that have been funded by Democratic Party, like, stuff going on. And it's like, everything that happens, every time it's like, Alex Jones was right. Alex Jones was fucking right, man. He was fucking right. He's been right for the past decades.
Lizard people turning the frogs gay. Which is, fuck. Like, guys, if you think I'm making, like, fun of him for that, that's actually true. Yes. There are chemicals in the water that actually are turning frogs gay. I don't know what the fuck to believe anymore, but that's fucking science. That shit's real. You can Google it. Look at the veins popping out on my neck. When I have to agree with Alex Jones, there's something seriously fucked up.
Right.
God damn. People who act that crazy should not have to be right. That shouldn't be inflicted upon us as viewers. Like, they should be crazy. But the David Icke shit, did you see that?
No.
That there was a protest, a protest gathering where, like, I think it was something ridiculous. Like 300,000 people or more than that showed up to David Icke speaking for like 3 hours.
Oh yeah.
And like halfway through, or like 2/3 of the way through, police like rushed the stage or some shit like that.
Wait, that actually happened? I saw this speech, but was that recent? Like, that just happened?
I think that happened like 2 days ago. I didn't find enough information.
Because he gave a speech like a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I remember that one happening too, but he keeps going out and doing it. And it's like, guys, David Icke sounds so crazy. Like, if you're concerned about silencing someone who sounds that crazy, you are honestly making his case for him. Like, it's more compelling when you don't allow him to speak. Let us listen to people and judge for ourselves. Yeah. Because right now, I have to fucking listen to Alex Jones and goddamn David Icke. Lizard people, look what you're doing to me.
Right. But yeah, that's the man. That's the state of the world right now. It's all. It's an information, psychological manipulation and warfare around every freaking corner, and everyone's trying to figure out where the hell they are, where they stand, what's going on. And the only thing that is very clear at this point is that there are people who have been, let's say, possessed by evil,
lizards,
by evil, like they have like, you know, blood, and they have the scent of blood, and they're like, I want to burn and hurt and beat and do this because of X, Y, or Z, whatever these reasons are. And if that's the side you're on, I'm sorry, but you're completely and totally wrong. Don't care where you're at. But there's a whole lot more going on than I think a lot of people understand. The good thing is, though, that I do think that a majority of people at this point have woken up to
they can smell something.
They can smell that there's some fish in the water.
It's not business as usual for those of us who have grown up. Like, I would venture to say that people under like 23 who don't know any other way of the world being as a young adult, like that's all they've experienced, they might be a little bit wrapped up one way or another. I hope not. But it seems as though like the generations that grew up like in normal world, I don't know what to call it. It was fucked up before, but now it's like extra fucked. Like extra crunchy fucked. Yeah. Like, it's not just fucked. It's like, I don't know why. It's crispy crunch. Crispy crunch fucked. Yes, that.
Captain Crunch.
I think that's like the most damning thing. It's like, what the fuck is happening? This isn't normal.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And even people that have been on polar opposite sides of the political spectrum are now like coming together and being like, hey, like all we know is that whatever you're doing, that's not the right way.
Did we mention the clip that has been got of Joe Biden literally just calling a group of like upper or I don't know what their ranks are, but a big group of like military folks, like he just tells them like, clap, you dumb bastards, or some shit like that. And there's like five different videos of just like what's his face just standing up there and like making some like paltry comments and being like, clap for that, you dumb bastards. It's like
what?
You can't do that. We just recorded that.
Yeah.
You can't do that,
right.
Mr. Biden.
Which is really funny because I think it was just a couple of weeks ago that a lot of mainstream news outlets like put out a giant hit piece on Donald Trump being like he called like the troops losers and suckers or something, when it was a completely fabricated story, like in complete bullshit, like provable by documents.
I'm definitely on the team that the Democrats don't actually want to win the election. They just want to seem like they're in the election and that Trump somehow stole it, and then they're going to try to do a coup.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
like, I think both parties are fucking stupid.
Every single
the Democrats are extra stupid this time around.
Yeah, and I think they're intentionally stupid and they're just being evil, and on the surface it looks like that they're just dumb and they're idiots, but what they're actually doing is far more sinister than what it looks like.
Ooh, conspiracy noodle.
Yeah. Anyway, 55 minutes approximately, with 5 minutes of waiting time.
Oh yeah.
So we're at 50,
so,
but we can still end it here. I'm happy with what we got.
I'm
going
okay
on.
with our first round of live.
Yeah.
That was a better conversation than I thought we were going to have.
Yeah.
Sometimes we sit down and we're like, what the fuck are we doing?
What are we going to talk about?
I don't know. Then we start listening to some music, drinking some coffee, and we're like, okay, let's just start talking.
Right. Let's just try and figure out what's going on. But anyway, I appreciate all of you folks for watching, listening, all that stuff.
Thanks for joining us.
So this is obviously on Facebook, but if you guys want to go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is just Jay and Kaskian, just search that in the YouTube search and you'll find it right away. We've got a solid, like, close to 20 episodes now.
We're getting there, and we're going to keep doing the thing. So see you next time, maybe.
We are going to keep doing the thing. We will see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.